Hey, what's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're taking a look at the Novelty Knife Company Old Glory Barlow. I picked this one up during a flash sale for $3.99, and that makes it the most inexpensive knife we've ever taken a look at on the channel. Now, that was on sale, but the full price is only $4.99. And so, important to note that in the context as we're looking at the fit and finish on this, and I mentioned the fact that they cut some corners, it would honestly be more surprising if they didn't cut corners to get to that price point than the fact that they did. And so I think this is a really solid knife for the price, but that for the price part is definitely pulling a lot of weight here. And so standard size Barlow, 3.625 inches in this closed position. We have acrylic covers with an American flag image under it on this Old Glory version, but there's identical models with just different imagery under there. So if that doesn't really do it for you, there are other options. Now, part of me wishes I would have went with another option just because there's something about an American flag on a Chinese made knife that's a little bit off-putting, and so doesn't seem right to get an American flag cover handle on a non-American made knife, but either way, I think the image is nice on there and pretty well applied. The acrylic does have a spot on the end that the image doesn't show up on, and I guess that's kind of to be expected. These covers also don't quite go to the bolster here, so there's a small gap in between there. Not all that surprising, but it is notable. You can get your fingernail in there between that gap if you want to. Pins also aren't flush. I don't think they were really trying to go for flush. Also, the bolster itself has the word Barlow on it. I think the bolster looks a little bit cheap, and that's probably because it is, but you can see it's not pinned in there or anything. These are just snap-on bolsters that snap right on there, so wouldn't be all that surprising if after a while those eventually fell off, but I'm not sure if they're pinned. You can see that bolster does actually drop down and extend under those covers, so they may be pinned in there and maybe a little more secure than I'm thinking, but the end is definitely just snapping on here. In terms of gapping on the spine here between the springs and the liners, yes, there is, and honestly it doesn't seem like they were trying to avoid that. There's pretty consistent gapping all the way across, and I think that was kind of a smart move because if they were trying to avoid it, we would be complaining that there's gapping. It's kind of unavoidable at that price point, but they just kind of put it together without worrying about what that looks like, and so for the most part is pretty consistent, at least, even though there are gaps between each liner and each spring, and so kind of consistent, at least, I guess is what we're going for here. Now, in terms of the blades, we have our standard 2-blade configuration here with the standard 2 blade shapes. So the pen blade has a nail nick where the clip point blade has a long pull. So we'll start with that pen blade, 2-inch blade. Mystery steel here, it is a stainless steel, but not sure exactly what that is. It does come with actually a very nice edge on it. It does look like a soft steel. I don't know how to explain that any better, but it looks kind of like a soft steel to me. But it comes with a pretty nice edge to their credit, and also a very nice point. I forget which Barlow I was looking at the other day, but felt like the tips of both of them were rounded off a bit, but this has a really nice pronounced tip, and overall a good looking blade. Now, in terms of the pull, in terms of the walk-in torque, the pull is kind of medium, maybe a 4 or so. The torque is not all that great. It's not super snappy, especially into this fully open position. It's kind of lazy and mushy, and so the spring is solid enough, but it's just not very snappy for whatever reason, and so that's not great. Into that closed position is a little bit more snappy, but both the half stop and the fully deployed position just feel a bit mushy overall. And so onto that clip point, this one's about 2.62 inches overall. Again, nice pronounced tip on there, a pretty solid pull, again 4.5 or so, and came with a decent edge. We have a Novelty Knife Co stamp on there with the blade model etched on the back, NV278 for this one, and it is, of course, as I already mentioned, made in China, but a nice usable edge. And I think honestly, for a lot of people, you pull this out, especially non-knife people, they pull this out. It's a good enough looking knife overall, kind of a classic look with the Barlow text on that bolster, and the edges are come nice and sharp out of the box. It's probably a sharp, soft steel, like I said, but it's going to be usable for people that aren't using a knife all that much. This is perfectly servable, and for $4, I take that as a win. Really, really cool. This is sold out on the SMKW site. I think some other sites do have it in stock. You may pay a couple dollars more, but they do have it in stock. But SMKW does have some of the other models with the different images. I was originally looking at the pinup series. There's 4 different pinup images, but ended up going with this one just because it was on a flash sale, and I figured, you know, you can't really miss with a $4 knife. Even if it was terrible, if you destroy this, if you lose it, you're not going to be all that upset. But would love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments below. If you have one of these, what your thoughts are. I think they used to have a US made version of these, and so definitely wouldn't mind checking one of those out, but it seems like the ones that are currently available that aren't through the secondary are all Chinese made knives. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or joining the channel as a member. All help the channel out a ton, and as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.